Good morning from me and my bump. Or good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is. I've decided to do this quick coffee talk, if I can call it that, with you guys because this is something that's been in my heart and I've been thinking about what should my next video be about, and I just thought I'm gonna do a video about my panic attacks and my anxiety and how I dealt with it and how I'm still dealing with it. So I'm going to try and keep this video as short as possible, but I'm going to do another video where I'm going to actually show you tips and tricks on how I prevent myself snowballing into full-blown panic attacks and coping with anxiety. I want to start by saying that I probably had my first panic attack when I was only 10 years old. I'm an A-type personality, so I love being in control of everything, and I'm such a perfectionist, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to really be perfect and to be liked by everybody. Such a silly notion, I know, but that's just who I am. That's the way I've been put together, and that's just how I function. It's obviously gotten a bit better, that I know that not everybody will like you, but it's still something that bothers me, I would say, and that I'm still working really hard on. My husband is amazing with that. He couldn't care less, so he's really helping me. Sometimes God puts people together that they can really like mold each other and help each other to be better people. But back to the topic. So after that, I was sitting in class. I had the shortness of breath, my heart was racing, it felt like I was gonna die, and felt like my spirit left my body and I lost control, and it was just an awful feeling, and I had no idea what just happened to me, but it was literally just a few seconds, and I kind of just went on with my day and with my life. And as the years passed, I would get every now and again like small little panic attacks, not big full-blown panic attacks, throughout my high school year, especially when I was stressed or overworked and I was really busy. I mean, I did everything from ballet to athletics to academics, and I really tried to always excel at everything and be the best at everything. And after school, I went and I studied psychology, something which I didn't really want to study at first because I really wanted to study acting, which I did in the end. But I moved to this new city. I lived for myself in an apartment. I was all alone for the first time in my life. I quit ballet, I quit athletics, I quit so many things that always kept me busy, and here it was just me all alone in my apartment with my studies and my thoughts. And I don't know if that made me spiral into this big hole, and then I felt depressed and that just brought on full-blown panic attacks, or if it was the other way around. Needless to say, I was in my second year of psychology, and I went to the cinemas and I was sitting there, and all of a sudden I just felt like I'm gonna have a heart attack, or someone is suffocating me, I can't breathe, I'm gonna die. And I got up, I walked out, my palms were sweaty, I was shaking, I really felt like I'm losing my mind, I'm losing control of my body, so I either have a brain tumor, or I'm possessed, or I'm about to die. And I felt so embarrassed for some other reason that I'd lost such control over myself, because my friends were like, what's wrong with you? Why don't you just get up and leave? And I didn't know what to say to them because I don't even know what had just happened to me. And then I went home, and probably for the next 10 days I didn't leave my apartment because I couldn't. Every time I walked out of my door, I would get a full-blown panic attack. Every time I walked in the mall with a lot of people around me, or if I was driving on the highway, which I still struggle with, I would get panic attacks. And I had no idea what was going on with me. After 10 days of not going to class, 2 of my friends pitched up at my house, and I'm such a neat freak. Like, everything in my life is always organized and clean and tidy, OCD. And here they pitch up at my apartment, and there's pots and pans and papers and bedding and clothes everywhere. I literally looked like a recluse that is depressed, that had no hope for the future, And that is exactly how I felt. The way my house looked was the way I felt on the inside. And I had no idea how to explain to them what was going on with me because I didn't know, and I felt embarrassed for some other reason that I'd lost such control over myself. And I was binge eating to try and feel better, and it was just awful. I just didn't feel good at all. Because I just quickly want to add this. I didn't eat very well when I was studying, and I also didn't do any form of exercise. So I literally went from the busiest girl on earth, doing so much exercise and eating really, really healthy because I was a ballet dancer, and you know, obviously you have to take care of your body and look good in a leotard, to eating whatever I wanted and not training whatsoever and living by myself. And I felt that I could speak to this one friend of mine that was there because her mother suffers from bipolar disorder, and for some other reason that just made me feel a little bit more calm, that she wouldn't think I'm crazy. And I spoke to her and she said, I need to go and see a doctor. And I was like, there's no ways, even though I'm studying psychology, there's no ways I'm gonna go see a doctor. And so another 10 days passed and I still didn't go to class. I felt awful and I just felt like I was getting worse and worse, and I was picking up weight. And there's this magazine in my house, and I opened it up, and guess what? Here's an article on a girl who had a panic attack, her first panic attack in a cinema, just like me, and she mentioned all her symptoms. I was like, that is exactly me. That is what I'm feeling, what I'm going through. And I felt so good that there were more people out there that experienced what I experienced and felt the way that I felt. And I didn't feel alone anymore, embarrassed as much. And there were these helplines, and I phoned them, and they made an appointment for me at a psychiatrist, and they were really, really helpful. So I went to the psychiatrist, and she immediately put me on medication. Now, the medication made me feel way worse in the beginning. Like, it almost intensified the panic attacks and the anxiety. But after a while, it really, really helped me just relax, just chilling, and to keep my mood this like stable. And I felt amazing. I felt like I could go back to class, finish my studies, and just function like a normal person again. And it really helped me for about 2 years. Then I moved to London, and I did a hell of a lot of research on panic attacks and anxiety disorder. And I found that there were so many amazing and cool and wonderful ways to deal with anxiety and panic attacks, and even prevent it in a way without being on medication. And that was amazing because I didn't want to put these chemicals into my body. So I went off the medication for about 2 to 3 years, and then the panic attacks really started creeping back in, and I went back to the doctor, and I rather got myself back onto medication, and I was on medication for about another 3 years. But it's been 8 months now that I'm not on any medication, and I feel really, really amazing. I know why that is, and I am going to make another video with all my tips and my tricks and just some more advice on how I dealt with, or still dealing with, my anxiety and panic attacks, and how I'm really thinking that I'm preventing it. Please note that I'm not a doctor. I do have my honors in psychology, but I'm not a doctor by any means, or a psychologist. And if you have any awesome advice or tools how you're coping with your anxiety or panic attacks, please leave it down below in the discussion section. You'd never know who's going to read your comment or your story, and you're going to help someone else as well. That's the main reason why I'm doing this, is so that I can help someone else watching this who's feeling the way that I felt, lost, scared, lonely, and embarrassed. And I just want to leave you with this very last thought, something that really carried me through, because it was a daily battle in my head when I was dealing with this without medication. It really tired me out because it was like this wolf, like just howling at me and me trying to shut him up. And it was a continual battle until I really gained control of that wolf, or this darkness, whatever it is, this fear. And it was just, I kept on telling myself, it's just an adrenaline rush. It's just my adrenal glands releasing adrenaline through my body for no reason. I know that. and that's why I'm feeling so awful, and it will pass within the next few seconds. I'm not gonna die, I'm not crazy, I'm not weird, I'm not different. There's so many people out there, especially A-type personality people, who suffer from anxiety and panic attack disorder. So you're not alone. Just know that you've got my support and my complete understanding of the way that you're feeling and what you're going through, and you will get through this. But check out my next video on my tips and my tricks.